The old Earth warship U.S. Defiant drifted slowly through the inky blackness of deep space. Its hull, once a shiny silver, now looked dull and worn. Small dents and scorch marks told stories of past battles and close calls. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the main view screen. She was a woman in her late 40s, with short black hair streaked with gray, and a face that showed both wisdom and determination. "Status report," she called out, her voice echoing in the quiet of the bridge. Lieutenant Rodriguez, a young man with a neatly trimmed beard, looked up from his console. "All systems normal, Captain. We're on course for the Epsilon sector. ETA is 3 days at current speed." Chen nodded, a small smile on her face. The U.S. Defiant might be old, but it was reliable. It had been her home for the past 5 years, and she trusted it with her life. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. Red lights flashed, bathing everything in an eerie glow. Chen's smile vanished, replaced by a look of intense focus. "Report," she shouted over the noise. Lieutenant Rodriguez's fingers flew over his console. "Multiple ships appearing on long-range scanners, Captain. They're like nothing we've ever seen before." Chen's eyes narrowed. "On screen," she ordered. The view screen flickered to life, showing a fleet of sleek, silver ships. They moved with impossible grace, their hulls gleaming in the light of distant stars. There were at least a dozen of them, each one twice the size of the U.S. Defiant. "Are they responding to hails?" Chen asked, her voice calm despite the tension in the air. Communications Officer Patel, a petite woman with long black hair tied back in a neat bun, shook her head. "No response on any frequency, Captain. But they're scanning us." Heavily. Chen's lips tightened into a thin line. She had been in space long enough to know when something wasn't right. These ships, as beautiful as they were, gave her a bad feeling. "Shields up," she ordered. "Weapon systems on standby." The crew moved with practiced efficiency, preparing the ship for potential combat. But before they could finish, a strange sound filled the bridge. It was like laughter, but oddly distorted, as if coming from a badly tuned radio. "What the hell is that?" Chen demanded. Officer Patel's eyes widened in surprise. It's coming from the alien ships, Captain. They've opened a channel." "Put it on speakers," Chen said, bracing herself for whatever was coming. The laughter grew louder, and then a voice spoke. It was deep and melodious, but there was an unmistakable note of mockery in it. "Oh, look at this," the voice said in perfect English. "The primitives have managed to get a ship into deep space." "How? Quaint." Chen's jaw clenched, but she kept her voice steady. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth warship U.S. Defiant. Identify yourselves." More laughter. "It speaks. How charming. We are the Zarkov, little human, the masters of this galaxy. And you are nothing but a curiosity, a relic floating in space." The word stung, but Chen didn't let it show. "We come in peace," she said. "We mean you no harm." "Harm?" the alien voice said, sounding amused. "What harm could you possibly do to us? Your ship is archaic. Your weapons, if you even have any, are probably little more than toys to us." On the view screen, one of the alien ships moved closer. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, all smooth lines and pulsing lights. Next to it, the U.S. Defiant looked like an ancient sailing ship beside a modern cruise liner. "Perhaps we should take it," another alien voice said. "It might make an interesting museum piece, a testament to how far the lesser races have come." Chen's hands clenched into fists. She looked around at her crew, saw the anger and humiliation on their faces. These aliens, these Zarkov, hadn't fired a single shot, but they had wounded the pride of every human on board. But there was something else in the eyes of her crew, a determination, a spark of defiance. Chen felt it too, burning in her chest. They might be outnumbered and outgunned, but they weren't beaten. Not yet. As the alien ships circled around them like sharks around prey, Chen made a decision. She wouldn't fire first. That wasn't the human way. But if these Zarkoth wanted a fight, they'd give them one they'd never forget. "Battle stations," she said quietly, "and get me a secure line to Earth Command. I think it's time we showed these masters of the galaxy what humans are really capable of." The crew snapped to attention, a new energy filling the bridge. The U.S. Defiant might be old, might be a relic, but it still had a few surprises left. And its human crew. They were just getting started. The tension on the bridge of the U.S. Defiant was thick enough to cut with a knife. Captain Sarah Chen stood tall, her eyes never leaving the main view screen where the sleek Zarkoth ships loomed menacingly. "Open a channel to their leader," Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the flutter of nerves in her stomach. Officer Patel nodded, her fingers dancing over her console. "Channel open, Captain." Chen took a deep breath. "This is Captain Chen of the U.S. Defiant. We request a peaceful dialogue." The response was almost immediate. The main alien ship glowed brightly, and suddenly, a hologram appeared on the bridge. It showed a tall, slender alien with silvery skin and large almond-shaped eyes. The alien's mouth didn't move, but its voice filled the room. "I am High Commander Zix of the Zarkoth Empire," the alien said, its tone dripping with condescension. "What could primitives like you possibly have to say that would interest us?" Chen clenched her jaw, but kept her voice level. "We may not have your advanced technology, High Commander, but humanity has much to offer. We seek peaceful coexistence and mutual understanding." Zix laughed, a sound like tinkling bells that somehow managed to be both beautiful and mocking. "Peaceful coexistence, with creatures who still use combustion engines and projectile weapons. How quaint." The alien's eyes roamed around the bridge, taking in the Earth technology with obvious disdain. "Your ship is a relic, Captain Chen. It belongs in a museum, not in deep space. How you managed to get this far without blowing yourselves up is beyond me." Chen felt her crew bristle at the insult, but she held up a hand to keep them calm. "Our technology may seem primitive to you, High Commander, but we've explored vast regions of space with it. We've made friends with other species, established colonies on distant worlds. We're not to be underestimated." Zix's expression didn't change, but there was a hint of amusement in its voice. "Friends? Colonies? You speak as if these are accomplishments. The Zarkoth Empire spans galaxies, Captain. Your entire species is nothing but a speck of dust to us." Lieutenant Rodriguez leaned close to Chen, whispering urgently, "Captain, they're scanning us again. These scans are more intense. They might be looking for weaknesses." Chen nodded slightly, never taking her eyes off the alien hologram. "High Commander, I must insist that you cease your scans of our ship. It's a violation of our sovereignty." Zix's laughter filled the bridge again. "Sovereignty? You have no sovereignty here, little human. This sector of space, like so many others, belongs to the Zarkoth. Your presence here is tolerated, nothing more." The alien's eyes narrowed suddenly. "But perhaps you need a demonstration of our power, to help you understand your place in the universe." Without warning, one of the smaller Zarkoth ships fired a beam of energy. It struck the U.S. Defiant, causing the entire ship to shudder violently. Alarms blared as crew members were thrown from their stations. "Damage report," Chen shouted, gripping her chair to stay upright. "Shields at 60%, Captain," Rodriguez called back. "That was just a warning shot. If they hit us with full power." Chen didn't need him to finish the sentence. She turned back to the hologram of Zix, fury burning in her eyes. "That was an unprovoked act of aggression, High Commander. We've done nothing to threaten you." Zix seemed unperturbed. "Consider it a lesson, Captain Chen. Your warship is nothing more than a toy to us. We could destroy you with a thought, but where would be the fun in that?" The alien's lips curled into what might have been a smile. "No, I think we'll keep you around for a while. You humans are amusing, like watching insects scurry about, thinking they're accomplishing something important. Chen's mind raced. The situation was dire, but she wasn't about to give up. Humanity had faced overwhelming odds before and survived. They would do so again. "You may think us insects, High Commander," she said, her voice low and dangerous. "But even insects can sting when provoked. And humanity has a long history of overcoming impossible odds." Zix's hologram flickered, its expression unreadable. "Bold words, Captain. But words are all you have. Your weapons are useless against us. Your shields are failing. What could you possibly do to threaten the mighty Zarkoth Empire?" As if in response, a light on Chen's command console began to blink. A message from Earth Command. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Maybe, just maybe, they weren't as alone out here as the Zarkoth thought. "You might be surprised, High Commander," Chen said, a new confidence in her voice. "You might be very surprised indeed." Captain Sarah Chen's eyes darted to the blinking light on her console. A message from Earth Command, encrypted and marked urgent. She needed to buy some time. "High Commander Zix," she addressed the alien hologram, her voice steady. "Before this goes any further, I propose we take a moment to consider the consequences of our actions." Zix's large, almond-shaped eyes narrowed. "Consequences? The only consequence here will be the lesson we teach you about your insignificance in the universe." Chen nodded to Lieutenant Rodriguez, who understood the silent command. While Chen kept the alien distracted, Rodriguez would decode the message from Earth. "Perhaps," Chen replied to Zix, "but even insignificant beings can surprise you. Humanity has a saying. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog." The alien's hologram flickered, its head tilting in confusion. "Dogs. Fighting. Your species truly is primitive if you still pit animals against each other for sport." Chen couldn't help but smile. "It's a metaphor, High Commander. It means that determination and spirit can overcome physical disadvantages." As she spoke, Chen noticed Rodriguez's eyes widen as he finished decoding the message. He gave her a subtle nod, his expression a mix of excitement and apprehension. Zix, oblivious to this exchange, scoffed. "Spirit and determination are meaningless in the face of superior technology and intellect. Your relic of a ship is proof of that." Chen's smile grew wider, a glint of mischief in her eyes. "Are you so sure about that, High Commander? You seem very interested in scanning our relic. Finding anything interesting?" For the first time, Zix seemed unsettled. "Your primitive shielding is interfering with our scans. It's unexpected." "Unexpected?" Chen raised an eyebrow. "Or perhaps you're not as all-knowing as you thought." Zix's hologram flickered again, this time with what looked like anger. "Enough of this. We've indulged your prattle long enough. Prepare to be boarded. We'll dissect your ship and your crew to satisfy our curiosity." Chen's smile vanished, replaced by a look of grim determination. "I'm afraid I can't allow that, High Commander." "Lieutenant Rodriguez, activate the Chimera protocol." Rodriguez nodded, his fingers flying over his console. "Chimera protocol activated, Captain. It's working." Suddenly, the U.S. Defiant began to change. Panels that had seemed worn and battered fell away, revealing sleek, advanced technology underneath. The ship's engines hummed with newfound power, and weapon systems that had been invisible to the Zarkoth scans came online. Zix's hologram stumbled back, its eyes wide with shock. What is this trickery?" Chen stood tall, her voice filled with pride. "This, High Commander, is humanity's hidden strength. The U.S. Defiant isn't a relic. It's the most advanced ship in Earth's fleet, disguised to look outdated and harmless." As she spoke, the ship's true form was revealed. Gone was the battered exterior, replaced by a gleaming hull of an unknown alloy. Weapon ports opened, revealing technology that even the Zarkoth didn't recognize. "You see, Zix," Chen continued, We've encountered hostile aliens before. We learned to hide our true capabilities, to let our enemies underestimate us. The Chimera Protocol was our ace in the hole. Zix's hologram flickered violently, its voice losing its earlier condescension. Impossible. Your kind couldn't have developed such technology. Chen's eyes hardened. We had help. From allies we made in our explorations. Allies who saw past our primitive exterior to the potential within. Unlike you, they chose to help us grow rather than mock us. The bridge of the U.S. Defiant was now a marvel of advanced technology. Holographic displays showed the stunned Zarkoth fleet, their weapons powering up but their earlier confidence clearly shaken. Now then, High Commander, Chen said, her voice cold. Shall we discuss peaceful coexistence again? Or would you prefer a demonstration of what this relic can really do? Zix's hologram looked from side to side, as if seeking an escape. The mighty Zarkov commander, who had been so dismissive just moments ago, now seemed small and uncertain. As alarms blared on the Zarkov ships, signaling their own battle preparations, Chen allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. The true battle was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what it was really capable of. The space between the U.S. Defiant and the Zarkov fleet crackled with tension. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the center of her transformed bridge, her eyes locked on the holographic image of High Commander Zix. The alien's earlier smugness had vanished, replaced by a mix of fear and anger. This changes nothing, Zix snarled, its voice no longer smooth but raspy with rage. You are still outnumbered. We will crush you. Chen's lips curled into a small smile. I wouldn't be so sure about that, High Commander. Lieutenant Rodriguez, show them what we can do. Rodriguez nodded, his fingers dancing across his console. Suddenly, the space around the U.S. Defiant shimmered. Where there had been empty void moments before, now there were dozens of ships, each identical to the Defiant in its revealed advanced form. Zix's hologram stumbled back, its large eyes widening in shock. Impossible. Where did these come from? Holographic projections, Chen explained calmly, combined with sensor ghosts. Your scans will show them as real ships, each as powerful as the Defiant. Still feeling confident about your numerical superiority. On the main view screen, the Zarkov ships could be seen frantically maneuvering, trying to get clear of the suddenly crowded space. Their formation, once so orderly and menacing, was now in chaos. Chen turned to her communications officer. Patel, open a channel to the entire Zarkov fleet. Patel nodded, her fingers flying over her console. Channel open. Captain. Chen's voice rang out, clear and authoritative. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth ship U.S. Defiant. Your commander has made his hostile intentions clear, but I am offering you one last chance to withdraw. We do not wish for conflict, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. For a moment, there was silence. Then Zix's voice came back, strained but defiant. You think your tricks can fool us. We are the Zarkov. We do not retreat. As if to emphasize his point, one of the Zarkov ships fired a bright beam of energy at the nearest holographic Defiant. The beam passed right through, dispelling the illusion. Aha! Zix crowed triumphantly. Your deceptions are revealed. But Chen remained calm. True, some of our ships are holograms, but can you be sure which ones? Are you willing to risk firing on a real ship and starting a war you might not win? She nodded to Rodriguez again. This time, the lieutenant activated the Defiant's new weapon systems. A pulse of energy, invisible to the naked eye, but clear on sensors, shot out from the ship. It passed harmlessly through the Zarkov fleet, but every alien ship it touched suddenly went dark, their systems temporarily overloaded. Panic erupted among the Zarkov. Ships collided as their pilots, suddenly without power, lost control. Others fired blindly, their shots going wide, and missing the Defiant and its holographic doubles. What have you done? Zix demanded, its hologram flickering as the alien ship systems struggled to come back online. It's a non-lethal electromagnetic pulse, Chen explained, designed specifically to overload Zarkov systems without causing permanent damage. A little gift from one of our allies. She leaned forward, her voice hard. This is but a fraction of what we can do, High Commander. The next pulse won't be so gentle. So I ask again, will you withdraw? The bridge of the Defiant fell silent as they waited for a response. The crew held their breath, watching the main screen where the Zarkov ships were slowly regaining power. Finally, Zix's hologram reappeared. The alien's earlier arrogance was gone, replaced by a look of grudging respect. It seems we have underestimated you, Captain Chen. Perhaps there is more to learn about your species than we thought. Chen nodded, keeping her expression neutral. A wise decision, High Commander. We'll be happy to engage in peaceful dialogue once you've withdrawn to a safe distance. As the Zarkov fleet began to pull back, Chen allowed herself a small sigh of relief. The immediate danger had passed, but she knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had revealed itself as a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy would never be the same. Stand down from battle stations, she ordered her crew. But stay alert. Something tells me our adventure is far from over. As the Zarkov fleet retreated to a safe distance, the crew of the U.S. Defiant let out a collective sigh of relief. Captain Sarah Chen, however, knew better than to relax completely. She turned to her first officer, Commander Jackson. Status report, she ordered, her voice steady despite the lingering tension. Jackson, a tall man with graying hair and a perpetual frown, consulted his display. All systems functioning normally, Captain. The Chimera protocol is still active, and our true capabilities remain hidden from long-range scans. Chen nodded, her mind already racing ahead. Good. Let's keep it that way for now. Lieutenant Rodriguez, maintain our holographic fleet. I want the Zarkov to keep guessing. As the crew carried out her orders, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was far from over. Her instincts were proven right when Officer Patel's console lit up with an incoming transmission. Captain, Patel called out, her voice tinged with surprise. We're receiving a message from the Zarkov fleet. It's a request for a face-to-face meeting. A hush fell over the bridge. Chen raised an eyebrow, intrigued. On screen, she commanded. The main view screen flickered to life, showing High Commander Zix. The alien looked different now, less arrogant, more curious. Captain Chen, Zix began, its voice carefully neutral. Recent events have forced us to reconsider our initial assessment of your species. We propose a meeting to discuss the possibility of peaceful coexistence. Chen allowed herself a small smile. That's quite a change of heart, High Commander. What brought this on? Zix's large eyes blinked slowly. Your technology. It's unlike anything we've encountered. Our scientists are eager to learn more. In exchange, we're willing to share some of our own advancements. Chen's smile faded. She glanced at Commander Jackson, who shook his head slightly. They both knew that giving away their technological secrets could be dangerous. I appreciate the offer, High Commander, Chen replied carefully. But I'm not authorized to share our technology without approval from Earth Command. However, I am open to a diplomatic meeting. Zix seemed to consider this for a moment. Acceptable, it finally said. We propose a neutral location for our meeting. There's an uninhabited planet in a nearby system. We can send you the coordinates. Chen nodded. Agreed. We'll each bring a small delegation. No weapons, no ships, just talk. As the transmission ended, the bridge erupted into a flurry of activity. Crew members rushed to prepare for the upcoming meeting, but Chen remained at her post, lost in thought. Commander Jackson approached her, his voice low. Captain, are you sure about this? It could be a trap. Chen turned to him, her eyes filled with determination. It's a risk, yes, but it's also an opportunity. If we can turn the Zarkov from enemies into allies, it could change the future of humanity in this galaxy. Jackson nodded, though he didn't look entirely convinced. And if it is a trap? Chen's lips curled into a sly smile. Then we'll show them why it's a bad idea to underestimate humans. Have Rodriguez prep a shuttle, but make sure it's equipped with our latest stealth technology. We'll go in appearing harmless, but be ready for anything. As the crew prepared for the meeting, Chen couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and apprehension. This encounter with the Zarkoth had already changed the course of human history. What would this next step bring? She thought back to the beginning of this mission, when the U.S. Defiant had set out disguised as an outdated relic. How quickly things had changed. Now, humanity stood on the brink of either a new alliance or a devastating war. As she headed to her quarters to prepare for the meeting, Chen's resolve hardened. Whatever happened on that planet, she would make sure that the galaxy remembered this day, the day when humanity proved it was no longer a species to be underestimated or mocked. The real challenge was just beginning, and Captain Sarah Chen was ready to face it head-on. The shuttle carrying Captain Sarah Chen and her small delegation descended through the atmosphere of the uninhabited planet. Through the viewport, Chen could see a landscape of purple rocks and swirling orange mists. It was beautiful in an alien way, but Chen couldn't shake off her unease. "Final systems check," she ordered, her voice tense. Lieutenant Rodriguez, who had insisted on piloting the shuttle himself, nodded. "All systems green, Captain. Stealth technology is functioning perfectly. As far as the Zarkoth can tell, we're just a simple transport." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Good work, Lieutenant. Remember, stay alert. We don't know what we're walking into." As the shuttle touched down on a flat expanse of purple rock, Chen saw another vessel landing nearby. It was sleek and silver, unmistakably Zarkoth in design. Her heart raced, but she kept her expression neutral. "Showtime," she muttered, standing up and straightening her uniform. The human delegation, consisting of Chen, Rodriguez, and Dr. Ilara Swift, the ship's chief scientist, stepped out onto the alien world. The air was breathable, but had a strange metallic taste. Across the landing zone, 3 Zarkoth emerged from their ship. High Commander Zix led the alien group, flanked by 2 others who Chen assumed were advisors. As they approached, Chen was struck by how different Zix looked in person. The alien was tall and slender, with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer in the orange light of the planet's sun. "Captain Chen," Zix said, its voice sounding oddly melodic without the distortion of hologram transmission. "Welcome to neutral ground." Chen nodded, keeping her voice level. "High Commander, I hope we can have a productive discussion." Zix gestured to a structure that had seemingly appeared out of nowhere, a simple dome made of a transparent material. "Shall we begin our talks?" As they entered the dome, Chen couldn't help but marvel at the technology that could create such a structure in seconds. She made a mental note to ask about it during the negotiations. Inside, they all took seats around a circular table. There was a moment of awkward silence before Zix spoke. "Captain, I must admit, your display of technology has intrigued us. We had dismissed your species as primitive, but clearly we were mistaken." Chen leaned forward, her eyes locked on Zix. "That was your first mistake, High Commander. Underestimating humanity has been the downfall of many who've tried to conquer us." One of Zix's advisors, a shorter Zarkoth with swirling patterns on its skin, spoke up. "Conquer? We have no interest in conquest. We simply seek to understand." Dr. Swift, who had been quiet until now, raised an eyebrow. "Understand? Is that why you threatened to dissect our ship and crew?" The Zarkoth had the decency to look embarrassed. Zix waved a hand dismissively. "A regrettable misunderstanding. We were overzealous in our curiosity." Chen didn't buy it for a second, but she kept her skepticism to herself. "Let's focus on the future, shall we? You mentioned an exchange of technology." Zix nodded eagerly. "Yes, we are particularly interested in your cloaking technology and your energy weapons. In exchange, we could offer advancements in faster-than-light travel, or perhaps our matter replication technology. Chen shared a glance with Rodriguez. The offers were tempting, but she knew better than to trust too easily. Those are generous offers, High Commander. But before we discuss technology exchange, I think we need to establish some ground rules for our interactions. Zix tilted its head, a gesture Chen was beginning to recognize as confusion. Ground rules. Yes, Chen said firmly. Non-aggression pacts, territorial agreements, protocols for future contact. If we're to have peaceful coexistence, we need a framework. The Zarkoth advisors whispered among themselves, while Zix stared at Chen with an unreadable expression. Finally, the alien commander spoke. You are more diplomatic than we expected, Captain. Chen allowed herself a small smile. We're full of surprises, High Commander. It's a human specialty. As they delved into discussions of treaties and agreements, Chen remained on high alert. The meeting was going well, almost too well. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was more going on than met the eye. Little did she know, high above the planet, events were unfolding that would soon shatter this fragile peace and test humanity's resolve like never before. As Captain Sarah Chen continued her diplomatic dance with High Commander Zix, an urgent beeping from Lieutenant Rodriguez's communicator shattered the tense atmosphere. All eyes turned to the human officer as he quickly checked the device. Captain, Rodriguez said, his voice tight with concern, we're receiving an emergency transmission from the Defiant. There's another Zarkoth fleet approaching, much larger than the first. The temperature in the dome seemed to drop several degrees. Chen's eyes snapped to Zix, searching for any sign of betrayal. The alien commander looked genuinely surprised, its silvery skin paling to an almost white shade. I assure you, Captain, Zix said hurriedly, I knew nothing of this. Let me contact my ship. But before Zix could finish, the dome's walls flickered and turned translucent, revealing the sky above. What they saw made everyone, human and Zarkoth alike, gasp in shock. The orange sky was filled with hundreds of Zarkoth ships, their sleek forms blotting out the alien sun. Among them was a vessel so massive it dwarfed even Zix's command ship. As they watched, a hologram flickered to life, filling the dome with the image of another Zarkoth, older and more ornate in appearance than Zix. I am Supreme Overlord Khazar of the Zarkoth Empire, the new alien announced, its voice booming. High Commander Zix, you disappoint me. Negotiating with these primitives instead of conquering them, you have grown weak. Zix stood, its posture a mix of defiance and fear. Supreme Overlord, I was merely. Silence. Khazar roared, your failure will be dealt with later. As for you, humans, prepare to witness the true might of the Zarkoth Empire. As the hologram vanished, Chen's mind raced. They were trapped on the planet's surface, outgunned and outnumbered. But she'd be damned if she'd go down without a fight. Rodriguez, she barked, signal the Defiant. Tell them to. But Rodriguez was already grinning, his eyes on his communicator. Captain, you're going to want to see this. The dome's walls flickered again, this time showing a view of space above the planet. The massive Zarkoth fleet was there, but so was something else, shimmering into existence, as if emerging from invisible doorways in space, came ship after ship bearing the insignia of Earth. Chen's jaw dropped. It was the entire Earth Defense Fleet, ships she'd only heard whispered about in the highest levels of command. And leading them all was a vessel that made even the Zarkoth Supreme Ship look small in comparison. A new voice crackled over the communication systems, filled with authority and a hint of amusement. This is Admiral Zhang of the Earth vessel Nemesis, Supreme Overlord Khazar. Perhaps we should discuss the meaning of the word primitive. Cheers erupted from the human delegation. Chen felt a surge of pride and relief, but she knew the danger wasn't over yet. She turned to Zix, who was staring at the sky in disbelief. High Commander, Chen said, her voice level. It seems we both had hidden allies. The question is, Where do you stand now? Zix looked at Chen, then at the images of the two mighty fleets facing off in space. For a long moment, the alien was silent. Then, to everyone's surprise, Zix laughed. It seems, Captain Chen, that we have all underestimated each other, Zix said, shaking its head in what looked like admiration. Perhaps it's time for the Zarkov to learn a lesson in humility. Supreme Overlord Khazar does not speak for all of us. With that, Zix activated its own communicator. Attention Zarkov fleet. This is High Commander Zix. Stand down your weapons. We will not fight this day. As confusion rippled through both fleets, Chen stepped forward. Admiral Zhang, this is Captain Chen. Request permission to board and assist in diplomatic negotiations. Granted, Captain, came the reply. It seems you've started quite the intergalactic incident down there. Let's see if we can turn it into a chance for lasting peace. As transport beams began to shimmer around them, Chen shared a look with Zix. Human and Zarkov, former enemies now standing together. It was a small step, but perhaps it was the beginning of something greater. The battle had been averted, but the real work was just beginning. As Chen prepared to face both human and Zarkov leaders, she knew one thing for certain. The galaxy would never be the same again.